So second day, a bit late starting to film. As we got in a bit late yesterday, we got up later than we should. Had to go shopping, the usual modern day stuff we had to do. Anyway, we've made our way over to Carentan, 50-minute journey west, I think it is, to where 101st Airborne Division, 82nd Airborne Division landed their pre-arranged drop zones. Anyway, the town of Carentan is directly ahead. I'll just focus in, just up this road. Unfortunately, just to the left-hand side, we've got roadblocks, French police. I think it's because the 101st Airborne Division are encampment there, so obviously the security reasons they don't want anyone there. So, as I said, we're off up that road now. It's got about a 2-mile hike, and we should make it into Carentan in the next half hour, 40 minutes, if that. Take a nice stroll. So we'll see you in a bit. Over.
This is day 2. We're a lot later than we'd hoped to be. It's actually afternoon, and we've arrived. There's much more traffic on the road. There are roadblocks by the police to stop people going down certain routes. But we've arrived on the outskirts. The road was actually blocked at this point behind us. So this road, that would be the road into Carentan, is got to be traversed on foot by us. There's a bunch of modern day American airborne troops on the left. You can see Joe ahead standing on the side of the road. Ken's gone on ahead because he's so slow, and we'll catch him up anyway. We were getting stuff out of the car and sorting the car out, but it's like I say, it's quite late in the day today, but we've got, sun doesn't set till about 9 o'clock, and we'll be around until about 9 o'clock tonight. So Carentan is the first stop today. I'm not sure because Joe is the Reiseführer, and he's got all of the gubbins for what and where we're going to do. So the next shot, unless something exciting happens en route, is a couple of miles down the road in Carentan itself. That's an American contingent following on from the French. All current servicemen commemorating their fellow countrymen from 1944. In these fields here was a fair bit of fighting because the Americans stormed forward here, and in fact there is a monument which I'll show you in a moment to a senior officer, a field officer, Major Cole, I believe. And he led a bayonet charge, and the bayonet charge was against this house, or this farmhouse, and they captured the farmhouse. The Germans had actually abandoned it and retreated before the assault went in, but they nevertheless, the Americans didn't know that, The house was occupied by, I don't know the number of Germans. It would have probably been a couple of squads or a squad or so. And they were equipped, it was a machine gun post. And they would have had an MG42, which was the 1942 version of the German heavy machine gun. A very powerful rate of fire. And it was covering the whole of this expanse here, plus beyond where that bridge is, obviously that's a new bridge, but beyond that, without these trees intervening, is again open ground. And also there are photographs that I'll show you in a second of what the ground looked like, real photographs from aerial reconnaissance of this area in 1944 when the Americans assaulted. Okay, if you can see here, I'll close in. This is where we are at the moment, here, and we are looking, when I showed you just now on the camera, in fact I'll put the camera up, there's the view to where we are here. Okay, so back to this, and this is the ground that's flooded. The Americans advanced from the direction of the Douve River towards Carentan, which is at the top of the photograph, and this man led the bayonet charge. That is Major Cole of the, his name is, he was Lieutenant Commander actually of the, Lieutenant Colonel of the 3rd Battalion of the 502nd Parachute Infantry Regiment, and of the 101st Airborne Division, the so-called Screaming Eagles. He got the Medal of Honour. Here it is. It's his Medal of Honour. And he led a bayonet charge, which was successful. But as I say, the Germans had already retired from the farmhouse, but he didn't know that when they charged forward. Here is a picture of Cole in front of the farmhouse as it stood. You can recognise that from the image that I showed you, the real image of today. So that's what it's called, Cole's Bayonet Charge. Okay, here's a further photograph. We are here, this is now looking from behind the German positions, and you can see there's the farmhouse that was stormed, and they attacked across here. Here is the monument to Cole's Bayonet Charge. So that's your man, and that's the artist's impression of Cole about to lead the bayonet charge into the farmhouse at Carentan. You can hear a Dakota flying over. They're going to do a parachute drop to add atmosphere for everybody. It's now about, it's between 8 and 8:30. It's actually 8:15. They put the markers out, and you're going to see a drop any time now.
No, not that one. Next one.
Okay, the markers have gone down. So here comes the second aircraft now, and this will drop a stick of paratroopers. These aircraft are flown from the UK, so it's very realistic. They're flown from RAF Duxford. This is the second wave. There was another wave that came in.
Maybe this one will drop.
Okay, here's another one coming in. We think this one might be the one that drops. No?
No, this is just shut the marker down, didn't they? To check out the landing. So they the second time around. So they got jumped.
Okay, he's made the first circle. They're now coming round, and it looks like, I'm informed, they're now going to make the drop. Here we go. You can see the paratroopers coming out. It's about a large squad. Here comes another one. There you go. Now look at that. The whole sky starting to fill with parachutes. This is what a D-Day parachute landing would look like. That's 2 aircraft loads. Here's a third one just started. There's a man coming down there. Another one over there. There's another one there. They're coming down. There you are. That's just 3 aircraft.
This guy is going a bit too fast.
Oh. Someone dropping up there. There's somebody up there that's dropping. He's going to have a problem. He's getting blown and he's being blown over the road.
This guy's...
This man's coming in off the drop zone. He's going to drop it down in the field over here. Here he comes. He's coming into the sun. He's going to land. Here he comes. There. Parachute comes in. He's going to pull that in. So there you go. That's a good simulation of a paratrooper. Now he's dropped on the other side of the road from where the target was, which was over there. You can see them in the field. So that's just an accidental, brilliant example of troops getting separated from their comrades. He's now got the road embankment. You can see the road embankment both sides, there and there. And if that's in the dead of night, 2 o'clock in the morning, in pitch dark, coming down there on your own, you've got nobody else, you've got to find your way back to your buddies. So, and that's the same for the British as well as the any paratroopers. So that's great. We're glad we saw this. There wasn't a drop earlier this afternoon, and unfortunately we didn't see that, but we heard about this one and we came to see it. We're now going to try and go to a place called bloody Gulch by the Americans, which was a very, very fierce battle at Carentan with the Germans in the attempt to take Carentan. We are the drop aircraft is coming over. There's one there, another one there. There it is. Hear the engine. There's the second one. Oh, they're dropping another stick. More paratroopers, there they are. See off in the distance the first aircraft, so this is double the number. Before the other one's now coming over. So I thought the reason I said we were off now is because I thought the airdrop had finished. But here we are, they're coming out now. There's the aircraft. There's 2 already out. And there's the rest of the stick coming out. It looks like the man at the back's getting a bit of a drift again. Oh dear. Anyway, there they are. Coming down there. Comrades are already on the ground. This is the second lot.
Il est où ton père?
So, a wonderful sight. This is very similar to what we saw 4.5 years ago at Arnhem. That was a mass paratroop drop, and I do think later on in the week we might see more of this, but that's a great display, everybody's enthralled with that. There's Joe, enjoying the evening. Everybody's down now. I don't know that there's going to be any more, but we'll wait for a moment, and if there is, we'll show you. There he is, the lad that dropped. Just coming up the embankment. He's in period gear as well, so everyone's very entertained by that. Very entertaining. That's on film. Well done. This is the paratrooper that dropped on his own in the field. These fields here, which would have been flooded, are looking towards the German lines, just out on the edge of Carentan, and where the Americans would have advanced and made the bayonet assault much closer into that tree line in the distance. There's a bit more of a view of it. This is the River Douve, which you saw on the map board just now, and this is a new bridge, of course. The original, I believe, was blown by the Germans, so there was no crossing point here, and the Americans would have had to have got across this river. We would believe that they crossed in rubber boats. It's not very wide, don't know how deep it is. Wouldn't have taken long to get across, but if you're under fire, that would also be pretty damn difficult. So there was only one bridge. It's still standing across a river further back, the River Jourdain, I believe. It's further back, so that was the only access point towards Carentan up this road, which is now known as Purple Heart Road, because of the number of Purple Hearts that were won here by wounded American soldiers. I mentioned the River Jourdain, and that is the bridge that has survived today. Don't know the age of it. It looks fairly old. It could be 16th, 17th, 18th, 17th century at the latest, I would have thought. It looks, seeing similar bridges with these buttresses on the side, I would have thought it's, you know, it's a pretty old French bridge, which would have been on the main route. The road presumably would have swung off a bit to the right there. But here's the river. This was able to be crossed because the bridge was intact. This bridge, which looks like the other bridge, was slung in to take the pressure off this obviously historical monument here. So there we are. This is known as the route of de la voie de la liberté. So here we are. That's a view of the other side of the road, the left-hand side. I was on the right-hand side there, and this just shows you the same picture really. It's open ground, it was marsh, it was flooded, and that was what the Americans had to advance over. I've learnt some more information, just apparently the fields were more flooded than I was given to understand, to the extent that we're on an embanked road, and that wouldn't have allowed the Americans to go off the road. The Germans then, as was put to me, laid siege to the road, and where we were approaching the building ahead, it's known as Dead Man's Corner, because from this point is where Cole launched the advance from his regiment onto Carentan. Obviously they didn't charge all the way from here to Carentan, but it's called Dead Man's Corner for obvious reasons, because a lot of the men were either killed or wounded, and it's called Purple Heart Road, this road, because of the Purple Hearts that were won here by the men that were casualties. As you can see from the title, this is now a museum, but this building obviously existed at the time, and it's now known as Dead Man's Corner Museum. This is part of a fiercely fought battlefield called, it was nicknamed by the Americans Bloody Gulch. It is only a part of it. It's a section. It's private land, and not only that, I mean, here's the entrance to a private residence, and to go in there is not allowed, unfortunately. But all along here and over the hedgerow to our left would have been Americans advancing, and Germans occasionally counter-attacking. This is a view over the hedgerow that you just looked at, and I'm given to understand that one of the American officers, after 2 attempts with a bazooka, did knock out a Stug 3 over there. The first, it bounced off, and the second one he took it out. He hit it and knocked it out. But there was pretty fierce fighting around here. Hence the reason it's called Bloody Gulch. This is a view overall, photograph of the battlefield. We're at a little tiny little lane, a track I can show you, and there are big embanked hedges either side. But in essence, what happened in this area, over this area, you can see from that, the arrow, the big arrow, is the counter-attack of the Germans punching in there. The Americans were pushing out from Carentan. The Germans wanted to stop them, and they launched a furious counter-attack with the 17th SS Panzergrenadier Division and a detachment of the 6th Fallschirmjäger Regiment, and the attack pushed the Americans right back to the perimeter of Carentan, and as I say, it's commonly seems to be referred to as the Bloody Gulch. I think it came as a bit of a shock to the Americans, because up until the 12th, 13th of June, when this occurred, they'd had nearly a week of pushing the Germans back. So there we are. That's the Bloody Gulch, and it looks like it's the end of our day now, because it's gone 9 p.m. and we're going to head back to our base. Tomorrow morning we've got our unexpected but unique chance to view the headquarters of General Gale, the commander of the British 6th Airborne Division. It's right next door to where our accommodation is. I think we showed you the gates of it, so that should be quite something tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Okay, that's all for today.